And I call the member for Hindmarsh.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Social Services. Will the minister inform the House how the budget is supporting Australians making the choice to support themselves rather than rely on welfare, especially in relation to childcare?
I call the Honourable Minister for Social Services.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for Hindmarsh for his question, and I commend him on being a great listener in his electorate and the contribution that he's made to the Jobs for Families package and our package for a fair access to a sustainable pension as well, listening to both those families in his electorate and those older Australians as well. Madam Speaker, for those who got up early this morning and went to work to give their family the greatest choice they could have and hope for their family, that's who this budget is for, Madam Speaker. And if you want to earn more from working rather than take more in welfare, then that's who this budget is for, Madam Speaker. And if you're running a business that is creating jobs for someone, Madam Speaker, especially someone who hasn't had a job for a long time and really needs one, then this budget is for them, Madam Speaker. And if you've saved for your retirement, Madam Speaker, if you've saved for your retirement so you can have a strong and viable support through your own investments to live off and stay off the pension, and not be taxed on that income, Madam Speaker, then this is a budget for you. This is a budget for you because this is a budget, Madam Speaker, that gives a fair go to those who have a go. And it does it, Madam Speaker, in so many areas, but it particularly does it for families who are having a go. Families, Madam Speaker, who know they need to be in work, they have to be in work, they have to stay in work to ensure that they can pay the bills and support their families in the way they want to do that, Madam Speaker. That's why we've invested $3.5 billion. That's what we're seeking to do, $3.5 billion to make childcare simpler, to make it more affordable, to make it more accessible and to make it more flexible. That's what we're doing for families who know they need to be in work to pay those bills and give their families the choices they want for them. And we're especially doing that, Madam Speaker, for families on low to middle incomes. That's where this money is going, to low to middle income earners, and it's especially going to families that are in disadvantage and are vulnerable, particularly those families who have children with disabilities, particularly families in rural and remote areas who can't access the services that they need to access. Dairy farmers, Madam Speaker, families who are dairy farmers, others who need to have access to those level of services that the system currently doesn't provide. And it also provides support, flexible support for those nurses, Madam Speaker, for those police officers, for those fireys, for those who are working shift work who can't get access to childcare now because their work hours don't give them that access. Under our program, Madam Speaker, that will be provided, something that was missing for years and years. Those opposite drove up the cost of childcare year in, year out. What this government is doing with this package of measures is to give those families choice. And we're going to support early childhood education by continuing universal access for preschool education, funding that those opposite left short.
I call the honourable member for Jagga Jagga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Social Services. Does the minister stand by the statement that he made on the radio, on the television, where he said, in many cases, where he said, in many cases, I think it's a rot where parents take paid parental leave that they've got from their employer and from the government. Do you still think it's a rot?
I call the Honourable Minister for Social Services.
Madam Speaker, this government doesn't support double-dipping. We don't support double-dipping. And what those opposite, Madam Speaker, have made very clear is that they do, and they designed the system for double-dipping.
And the member for Isaacs will desist. Now, the minister will resume his seat, and the member for Jagga Jagga on a point of order, which had better be a good one.
The point of order on relevance. Do you still think it's a
rot? The member will resume her seat. There is no point of order, and she knows it. The minister has.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. What we have confirmed by those opposite is they designed a scheme.
The member for Sydney will leave under 94A.
They designed a scheme which is producing the following results: that those who are currently getting, and that's 60%, those who are currently getting a paid parental leave scheme from their employer are in the public sector, working in the public sector offices, particularly in this town, and those who are getting all
The
of
member
their
for
paid parental
Isaacs
leave,
can join the member
and
for
then
Sydney
on
if
top
he
of
wishes.
that, they're going to the taxpayer. They are actually earning 50% more than those who are just getting the 18 weeks payment. 50% more. So what we're saying, Madam Speaker, I think is very, very clear, that if you are getting a paid parental leave payment over the course of when you've been in work and you've gone to have a child, then you will get that 18 weeks, which is just over about $11,500. But if you're drawing down $20,000 from a public sector employer, and that's 60% of these cases, then you don't get to go back to the well and say, can I have another $11,000 please from the taxpayer. Now, if those opposite think that's a fair thing, if you think that's a fair thing, that you can put one hand in the taxpayer's pocket for 20 grand and then put another hand in the taxpayer's pocket for 11 grand, then you wouldn't know fairness if it fell over you.
Remember the